Hi, this is Jeff Roy from Three Crosses, Muskoka, and this is the first video in a series that we're doing. Um, this one is titled "Everybody's Got a Story," and I think when I went and I did my studies on spiritual formation, I part of the program involved me looking back over my life and seeing God's work over the years at various points, maybe even unbeknownst to me. God was at work in my life, and when I started to look at that, I realized that there were a lot of formative events in my life that affected my understanding of God, um, and some of it, as I look back on that, just helped me to see His work in my life and His grace in my life. And a lot of these moments were like emotional moments. They were maybe hard times or good times. One in particular that's in my story involves my uncle David, and um, he's uh, he's no longer with us, but he was kind of a self-made man and successful, very very bright, and I thought treated people well with respect. I always wanted his respect, and I was never sure if I had it, I guess you would say. But there were a few instances that happened, and they're emotional for me. I mean, I know that I'm probably talking to you through these darkened glasses, which is maybe I'll take them off for this moment. And I just want to recount a story that made a difference in my life. He We were skiing. We were skiing in a place in Niagara Falls, New York, called Kissing Bridge, and we were going up and down the lifts. It was a cold day, and he was showing me these new gloves he had. They were fancy Gore-Tex gloves, futuristic. This goes back 35 years ago. And we were on the lift up. My hands were cold. His were warm. He let me put them on. I felt how nice they were, and I was like, this is great. And I asked him, I said, are they expensive? He said, well, yeah, they're not cheap, And I said, oh, well, love to get a pair some one day. And I kind of left it at that. I don't think I really said anything more. And then the next time that he came to my parents' place in the falls, um, he kind of pulled me aside. He took me. I remember it like it's etched in my memory. He took me past the front hall to kind of the stairs that led upstairs. He wanted me to come away, be away from everyone else. And he pulled out this pair of Gore-Tex gloves, and he said, "These are for you." Um, and it's just between me and you, though. And he gave me these incredible gloves, and it wasn't so much the gloves. I still have them. I meant to bring them here and say, here they are. They're just over there. I didn't carry them up here. I've had them repaired about 4 times. I take them into the shoemaker, and he says, why don't you buy a new pair? And I said, well, how much to put a few little patches on them? $25. But you should go buy another pair. No, I want these ones. I've kept them now. Um, it's probably getting close to 40 years. It is. They're 40 years old. And they're precious to me. And they're precious to me because it was an instance there I realized that somebody who I respected, who was a busy person, knew I was there, knew I existed. The fact that he would go out of his way, go to a store, pay for these things, think to bring them when they came to the falls, and then take me aside and give me these. Um, I don't know if I do enough of that. I'm an uncle. Um, he was a special kind of guy, and it meant a lot to me. It just meant that somebody else who knew I mattered and cared for me, and um, I think this is the involvement of God a lot of times in our life. He is there. We just don't realize it. I want to tell one other story here. Just one time I was up at his house in Toronto on the Scarborough Bluffs, is where they lived, in a beautiful house. And he ran an insurance adjusting business, and he often would get a lot of things that were maybe written off but not wrecked yet, had been burned or something, but still functioned. And so he has a chance to pay salvage on them. And so he had picked up this beautiful hydraulic jack, heavy duty, like it's type you see in garages and shops. And I did a lot of work on cars, but I had nothing of that caliber of equipment. And I remember seeing it, and I was just, coveting it, I guess you might say. And I said, "Where'd you get that?" "Oh, I got it as off an insurance claim, and it was a good deal." And I said, "Gee, if you ever come across another one of those, then let me know, because I could really use that jack in my shop." I changed a lot of motors and transmissions and things, and so I mentioned that in passing to him, and then a long time went by. Like I couldn't tell you how long, but I do remember that I was finishing my undergrad degree at Honors Bachelor of Administration, and my uncle drove up from Toronto to Brock. This was at Brock University, to be there for the little ceremony, which I thought was wow. Like I was wow, and then after he took me aside afterwards, and he said, I know you want to go out with your friends and probably have a good time and party tonight, have some fun, but I need you to just help me with something for a minute at the car, if you don't mind, before I head back to Toronto. So he took me out to his car, and I had a nice car. They had a lot of different cars over the years. This one was a Mercedes, and he opened up the trunk, and in the trunk was a 2.5 ton Blackhawk jack, brand new. It wasn't an insurance claim or anything. Maybe I'll put my glasses back on. So I still have that jack. It's 40 years. Well, no, it's not. It's 35 years old, because this would have been when I graduated university, so after the ski thing. But I was pretty amazed by that. That I was important enough on his radar to go and buy this jack, and then drive up to my graduation and to think about what I valued, what was of value to me. I didn't think that I would enter in on his radar as a priority. Somehow I did. This is the way God feels about us. We are on his radar even when we don't know it, and he thinks about us, and he has gifts for us, and he cares so much for us. Maybe I'm a little emotional for this, and it's a powerful story. My uncle, he actually took his life. Gee, it must be 20 years ago now. Had some issues with depression, and I kind of miss him. After he took his life, his youngest son, Brad, well, he was out west skiing, trying to recuperate from losing his dad and discovering him coming across him after he'd committed suicide, and Brad took too many Tylenol 3s, and his life was ended as well. And it's sad. It's sad. And I guess everybody has a story, and that's part of my story right there. My Uncle David inspires me to try to be that person for other people. I don't measure up, but I believe that I had glimpses of God's grace and love and mercy through my Uncle David because of what he decided would be important or what he wanted to prioritize, which happened to be me at a few significant moments in my life. And I really appreciate that. It's emotional for me, of course. I was going to do this, and I didn't know how emotional I would get. I guess I got a little emotional. But the thing is, I know that you all who are watching this have a story too, with just as powerful moments. And I think it's important that as we are formed spiritually, that we go back and take a look at some of those things, share them with others. Sometimes it's in sharing them. I've started sharing this story. I remember I shared it the first time in India with Steve Kerr, and I wept during it, and I think Steve was a little taken back by it. But and since that moment, I've never hidden the power in the story because it honors my uncle. But more importantly than that, it just revealed to me a side of God's love and care and concern for me, and interest in my life, and that's the way God feels about you. And if you haven't been able to realize that or see that or understand that, then I'd encourage you to look back over your life at your story and see these points or moments of transformation or events that were pivotal in moving you forward. I think a lot of times you might see the grace of God at work and then be thankful to him. So I'm thankful for the grace of the Lord working through my Uncle David, who was a special man. And that's all I've got for you today on Everybody Has a Story with Jeff Roy at Three Crosses. See ya. Thanks for listening. I didn't know if this chair was going to hold me.